Ancient Rome contributed significantly to the legal system still in place in many countries today. The foundation of Roman law was the 12 tablets, which contained the established set of laws. Some laws included in the 12 tablets include a requirement to appear in court if you are called upon, the punishment of death for lying in court, and a prohibition against holding business or political meetings at night. Since Roman law was in place for more than 1,500 years, some of the laws they had will probably shock you. Men could murder their wives' lovers. A husband was advised to lock up his wife and her lover if he discovered an affair, and to invite as many of their neighbors as possible to come and witness. To invite his neighbors to check out the man his wife had been sleeping with, he had 20 hours to call as many as he could. After that, he had 3 days to issue a public statement outlining where he discovered his wife having fun with someone else, as well as any other juicy information he might have. Additionally, he was legally forced to get rid of his wife in order to avoid being accused of pimping. If the lover was his wife's slave or prostitute, the husband may kill him. In Rome, fathers also had the legal right to kill their daughter's suitors, regardless of how lovely the toga was. Almost the only thing a woman could do legally if she discovered her husband having an affair was to cry about it. The ultimate punishment. If you committed a minor offense, a mere beheading would suffice to seal your fate. If things became really terrible, they would take you to the prison's roof and hurl you off. And if you murdered your own father, you would receive a particularly dreadful punishment. People who were found guilty of patricide were given blindfolds and told they weren't deserving of light. After being stripped naked and beaten with rods in a field outside the town, and when they could take no more, they would stuff them into a sack with a snake, a dog, an ape, and a rooster before sewing them and their entire menagerie inside and tossing them into the sea. Suicidal people could apply for permission. In certain situations, suicide was just the prudent course of action. In case of need, kings would normally keep poison on hand, and ailing individuals would be advised to drink hemlock to end their misery. Only troops, slaves, and prisoners were prohibited from suicide, and this restriction was purely financial. Soldiers had a purpose, and their departure couldn't be permitted. Criminals could not be allowed to pass away before being found guilty, since the state would not be able to seize their property. Additionally, the owner frequently had the right to a full reimbursement if a slave committed suicide. They even had a formal mechanism in place where anyone could ask to commit suicide. Depressed people might petition the Senate for death. If the Senate agreed that the depressed individual would be better off dead, they would receive a free bottle of poison. People killed by thunderbolts couldn't be buried. The Romans considered lightning bolts to be divine activities carried out by Jupiter. A lightning strike didn't mean someone was unlucky. Simply put, Jupiter had determined that it was time for them to leave, whether it was a person or a tree. If your friend had been struck, it was illegal for you to bury his body, and you couldn't even lift the body above the knees. If you did, you would have taken a Jupiterian sacrifice. However, they allowed folks to make up for it. The Romans would sacrifice you to Jupiter in place of burying a person struck by lightning. Prostitutes had to dye their hair. Roman women had uniformly dark hair color. Romans considered natural blondes to be barbarians, especially the Gauls. They forced the prostitutes to color their hair in order to make them look like barbarians because they couldn't be identified with the dignity of a respectable Roman woman. However, it didn't entirely succeed. All these blonde barbarians made the Roman women envious. The high-class women were once more unrecognizable from prostitutes, as some started dyeing their hair blonde while others forcibly removed slaves' hair to make wigs.